Apologies for not being there myself in person. I had to drive to Somerset and back today, so I'm about 3/4 of the way home. We can go ahead and call the meeting to order at 6:34. And do a quick, do you want to start? Can someone read the phrase about recording the meeting for meeting keeping purposes?
Do the pledge first.
Oh, sure, we can do the pledge first. Sorry.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with
liberty
liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
All right. Can someone read the appropriate phrase about recording the meeting?
I'll read them. These
Awesome, thank you.
These proceedings are being recorded for the sole purpose of preparing accurate written minutes. Recordings are overwritten following the removal or approval of the minutes, eliminating all unofficial records of these proceedings.
All right. I can't see, but do we have any guests this evening?
None.
Oh, okay. No want to come out in the snow. All right. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the December 19th meeting?
I'll approve.
I'll second.
Excellent. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All righty. Motion approved. Okay, Miss Anna, turn the show over to you for updates on talking about the criteria evaluation.
All right, great, thank you. So if you guys go to the page underneath your minutes, this is what I emailed to you. So it just explains the changes to the feature of primary importance B. So we want to change this to reflect the ARA water assessment instead of the natural lands assessment. This is just, I guess it's a little more accurate, and I don't know, we have like approval to use it. Dawn, do you want to explain it anymore?
Sure. So after we were at Wildlands and Natural Lands were talking about that priority water area that we had presented to you previously, and we were trying to recreate it to make sure we fully understood what went into it. And we had some issues recreating it, and we had some issues with the app cost scores. And so after a bunch of discussion and going back and forth, we decided that it kind of makes more sense to use the active river area versus the app cost scores. And if anybody wants to dig more into it, there's a some information on the page there. And then there's also on the digital version, the PDF or the Word version, there is a link that will take you to information about the Nature Conservancy's active river area calculation. So we just basically, this is trying to clarify and make it clear, you know, and make it more reflective of what we're trying to look at in the question. So we, after a lot of back and forth between us and Natural Lands, we're recommending that we change it to ARA from the priority water area app cost stuff that we were looking at before.
Was there something that came up with a project or something? I mean, how did this even come up for discussion and as it pertains to us?
It came up because we were looking at using a similar thing for some ranking we were doing in-house, as was Natural Lands, because we're both redoing our prioritizations. And so that led us to back and forth with Natural Lands, trying to recreate that priority water area that we were originally looking at. And during that conversation, we decided that the app costs for the active river area better reflected what we were trying to capture with this question than the app cost score did. So that's kind of how it came about. We were trying to, we're doing stuff for our own purposes, and then we're trying to vet the information that we already had. And we also consulted with TNC just to make sure we had the right data from them. And it was a joint decision between Natural Lands and us that it kind of makes more sense to use the active river area than it does the APCA, and that because the priority water area, which was the calculation that we were using the APCA for before.
So changing the usage of this specific criteria, that's kosher with all the other matching grants that we were looking at, just to make sure we don't need the APCA score. We can use this and that's still acceptable.
Yeah, the APCA is an OSI number, and the OSI
Okay.
funding is going away, so that I don't think they're
Oh.
going to continue to be creating and updating the APCA information in the future.
Okay.
Then the second sheet that's underneath the explanation is just the changed criteria evaluation. It's just updated. I know that I sent the proposed changes document over email, so even the folks on Zoom should have that one. I'm not sure that I sent the updated spreadsheet, like what you actually fill out. But it's just the section B change to how the language was in the document.
So yeah, just to clarify, before we were looking at priority water area, now we're looking at AR, and we were also looking at EV and HQ, but now we're looking at active river area and EVHQ. And also for clarification, the EVHQ is both EVHQ, whether it be designated or existing, because before we weren't clear on that, and we want to be clear that in some cases there are streams that are designated EV or HQ under existing that are not under designated, but there are existing EVHQ, so the consensus was that they should still be considered EV and HQ because that's what they are, even though they're not designated that, because the designation takes, you know, a lot of work to get something designated as that, and the designation is kind of what you want it to achieve, and it might not actually be that right now. So that's why the combination of both, so that we make sure we're capturing all the EV and HQ streams in the county.
So I guess I would just be looking for a motion to approve the changes. And then also a motion to recommend that we have the GIS department host the ARA data on the county website, and we'll have Dawn and I work with Jason Shellhammer from GIS to get that up and running, basically so that the applicants can use that to determine how their project fits into the criteria evaluation, and also so that when you guys come to write projects, you can use that on your own time to see how the project fits into your criteria evaluation. So those would be the two things I'm looking for.
My only question, and I assume you've already looked into this, one of the things that's getting crossed out under the asterisk is, one of the old things was benefits Carbon County's TMDL allocations for the Chesapeake Bay Watershed Implementation Plan. Was that of importance before and no longer is this addressing that? Or
I guess this would kind of be taking that over. So Dawn and I had talked about that a couple months ago, like close to when I started and we started getting this stuff rolling. She said she wasn't at the meeting when that was put in, and I obviously wasn't here, but we just didn't really see how I think that information was relevant, or also how we were kind of using that as like an actual reference to the project.
We don't have any data to look to see how that plays into being able to tell if an area buffers or protects sensitive water resources. If somebody has the data that they can point us to, so basically we can say that, but we don't have any way to point anybody to any data to look into it. So we couldn't even look into it to see how it would be relevant. So if somebody has that data they wants to point us to, we can look at it. But
So
I think that we've captured how, you know, is an area protecting or buffering sensitive water resources by the active river area and the EVHQ.
So for the Chesapeake Bay stuff, I mean, Carbon has a teeny tiny amount. We still have some on the western part of the county that goes into the watershed into Schuylkill. So that would be the only area where it would benefit. And I'm the one who put that forward because I know Carbon has a small percentage of that TMDL basis. But I'd have to look at the map again to see exactly which valley it is that would be appropriate. So that was just the only thing from my standpoint is that's an overall thing that the whole state has to come up with. Carbon has a tiny bit, and if we can throw one to the good to that large project, then if we had something that came up that had that as a qualification, it would be a benefit. But that's a kind of an if then. It would be, it would be something that could help that process, but that's only if a project in that vicinity shows up.
And I think that we could probably achieve the same thing by having somebody just see if there are projects in that area, then they can be, that information be given to the Chesapeake Bay folks. I don't necessarily think that because it is such a small area, having an applicant have to say it's in or it's out, I don't think that's going to give them points or no points. It's not, if it's got EV or HQ and it's, got the active river area, I think that's probably sufficient to meet the matrix here. But we can certainly, if you want to find that data, we can certainly, ask Anna to flag if she sees a project that fits that, flag it so that we can pass that information along.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and find it in some of my old stuff, but I remember it was towards the western side of the county. There was some portions that would fit into that basically would be contiguous with some of the Schuylkill tracks.
But it wouldn't preclude somebody from putting that in their proposal, and we might weight our score a little better because of that. If they provided that data. Yes, no?
Well, just without knowing what the data is, I can't speak to. I mean, just generally, if you're protecting property, you're going to limit the amount of sediment and pollution. But that's not. So, I mean, from that perspective, you're protecting the water resources. But if you, I think it's already covered by the other one, so I don't see how it would give you more points.
Hey, I think you keep saying Schuylkill, but I know you mean Susquehanna, right?
No, so I'm talking about basically for the Chesapeake Bay map, everything we have for the Susquehanna River.
Oh, I'm thinking you
If
should talk
those-
about Schuylkill River instead of
No.
Susquehanna.
Yes, know what you mean. No, different. No, in terms of the overall watershed, there's a little bit of the county. Every county has a certain percentage that it has to hit for the TMDL. If you have for the maximum daily load for pollution, that you have as your contribution to that waterway. The vast majority of Carbon is in the Delaware.
I understand that.
Yeah, there's some drainage into the Chesapeake, and if we can, by preserving a property and through those mechanisms, if we can knock out Carbon's contribution to this in a quick program, that was my thought was, then whatever we have to do to flag that, and then that benefits the county. So even if it's just something that, as in terms of the program, Anna, if we don't have it in the criteria sheet, but we have it in the guidance, that's you highlight it for those certain areas of the county that qualify, then it's a benefit to the county's contributions to that project.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the changes that were made to the criteria
Thank you.
as presented tonight.
I'll second them.
All right, so all those in favor of updating the criteria as proposed with the ACA language, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? All right, that passes. We'll pass that on to the commissioners to see if they're okay with that update to the criteria. And then Anna, your other question about mapping and GIS, did you also want that as a motion?
Yeah, that would be good, just to recommend that to the commissioners as well. So that one is for Dawn and I to work with the GIS department to get the ARA data hosted on the county website.
All right, do we have a motion to recommend to the commissioners to work on hosting the ARA data up on our county website and make it publicly accessible?
I'll make the motion.
I'll
All right.
second. I'll
Excellent.
second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thanks so much. We'll pass that on along to the commissioners and ask if that's a resource they can also share on the website. All right. Mr. Fred, do you want to take it from here?
No, you're doing a great job. I'll sit back and watch tonight. I was watching on Facebook Live, so it's really beneficial.
Yeah.
I don't want to say I was watching while I was driving, but
Katie, you're muted again.
oh, she's.
Apologies. I pulled over because I was having trouble reading tiny font.
Well, if you
all
want to
right.
keep driving, I'll take over.
Yeah, you go ahead and take over and then I can get myself home.
All right, on to number 6, I believe, correct?
Yep.
Overall evaluation of the pilot grant round.
Yeah, so if you guys have any notes on the ranking meeting or that whole process, I would be happy to hear that feedback, as well as any notes on the workshop presentation back in October. I'm getting ready to update that to tailor it for the municipalities. And then I'm just also kind of wondering if there's anything else I could, like any other better way I could present the project information to you guys to help make your evaluations more objective and not subjective. So if you have anything you can think of right now, that's great. You can let me know. And if you want to bring it to the next meeting or call me sometime, shoot me an email, any of those are fine. But if you can think of anything now about like so far the process, I'm happy to hear.
Did you send that presentation out, the PowerPoint that
I
you
don't think
did?
so. I've been thinking about that. Which one you wanted, the workshop one?
Yeah, the one you did, the initial workshop,
Mhm.
because that's the one you're gonna modify
Yeah.
for the townships.
Mhm.
It'd be easier to review that, because
Yeah.
it
I
was
will
good,
send
but
that out to you
it
guys
probably
tomorrow.
was a little more detail
Mm-hmm.
from a marketing or initial
Mhm.
informational
Yeah.
standpoint for them.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Yeah.
And as far as a municipality, reaching out to the municipalities, are you going to be doing this in invite and then having them come to one centralized location? Not that you would be going out to different municipalities during your meeting or something like that. How are you planning on going about that?
We're gonna do almost like a mix of both. So we're gonna start with a general meeting that'll be here, look similar to last time, but we're gonna tweak the presentation and focus more on like the conservation definitions.
I thought we
and
were
stuff.
gonna do that on Zoom, Anna.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Actually, yes, we are gonna do that as a webinar. Thank you, Dawn. Sorry, I forgot about that. And then we're going to meet with the municipalities as like a regional thing. Kind of trying to group them together. But yeah, we're gonna do a workshop as a webinar.
And what time of the day would that be?
We're hoping to do that in February, but we haven't set a date or a time. That is the next thing. That's number 8. And it's part of number 7. That we will go over as well.
And Anna, were we thinking that it would be recorded and that folks can look at it at their convenience?
Yeah, it's gonna be something that we'll record and put on the website in the open space board page.
Are we going to be able to track the folks that stop in and look at it? Is there anything that's created that we could have a tally as to who checks in?
Sure, I'll check in with that with IT.
Because I think that would be a good idea if,
Mhm.
like, a sign-in you know,
Mhm.
when they come, log on to view it.
Yeah.
That way we know who, you know, at least you could track it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll look if we can set something up like that.
As far as the pilot round, on my point, I think that going out and looking at the land was important to me. And I think that finding situations that might be more helpful for more people to take part in that and make it at a time where it's not necessarily in the middle of the day where everybody's working either. I think that that's one of the things that I would try to improve on.
Yeah, I found that very helpful to actually see it, touch it, feel it.
There was such beautiful moss up on it.
I was really excited
It
about the moss.
Now, as far as the pilot round, how did you feel it went? Because you're running it, it was your first time as well. So what did you think could be better, or what do you think worked really well?
I think the discussion was good, everyone deliberating together. I appreciated that, and it was like a good calm environment. And then I guess for improvements would just be kind of like the rankings. I think certain things from some people, it kind of like, it didn't need to be opinionated, like it was like, this is how it is, but it was ranked differently. It was still given a lower score, just kind of based on opinion. So I feel like that's something I want to help be able to change.
From the application standpoint, Anna and I have already talked about this, but I think that we're gonna try and do a fillable PDF or something like that, because the way it was this past round, you had to fill the entire, there was no way to save the application as you're working through it. You had to like enter everything in, and I had some issues where things weren't uploading and it didn't work. So I think one way around that would be to have the application be a fillable form that then you upload, and then also the budget would be, we'll do that in like an Excel form so people can type it into Excel, and then you'd upload that as well. And that's how DCNR does it. And I think it's easier to look at a budget that way and make sure all the numbers are tabulated properly, as opposed to trying to fill in a table on a fillable website. So I think two things, those two things would make it easier to fill out the application, and then upload and complete and submit. That's the word I'm looking for. Submit the application. And I talked to Anna about, there are a couple of things on the list of things to upload that didn't need to be uploaded because they're pieces that are later in the process. They're not pieces for the application. They're pieces that are once the person is working through, the applicant is working through the acquisition project. So they didn't need to be on that list, because there was a very large list of things you're supposed to upload, and probably only half of them needed to be there because half of them were things that happened later on. And then I think also, if we have, once we have that link to being able to, on the application page, to being able to look up the data for some of the questions, like the water questions, that'll be helpful, because not, the land trusts have, access to GIS and all that stuff, so we can find the data, download it, pull it into a GIS map, but not everybody has that. So we want to make sure that, all the municipal applicants can just as easily find that information, which is the whole point of asking the county to host that information.
Yeah, so those are parts of the application that I'll want to change. I'll have to talk to Dave about that later to see if that's something we need to bring to you guys to recommend to change, or if it's something I can just take to the commissioners, because you guys don't kind of work directly with like the website and the application. So I'll see about doing that and luckily, we wouldn't need that until March. So that might be something on the agenda for next month. And I'll have those changes sent out to you when the time comes.
Hey, Anna, maybe on the same lines, like the evaluation form that we use for the projects might be good to be fillable for the PDF. Just a thought too.
Like for you guys, when I send it to you guys?
Like
board
the sheet that we use to rank.
Yeah. I think I had sent it out as a fillable PDF.
Oh, is it? Okay. The
I
one I
have.
had, I don't think was.
Oh, okay. I apologize about that. I'm pretty sure I had IT change that for before the round started. But I'll make sure to get you guys that version next time.
Cool.
I have I guess it's more of a question than a comment, but when we did the practice rankings, we sort of had a discussion about each criterion first, and then people said their numbers. And I think this time everybody said their numbers, and then we tried to talk about it. But I wonder if it wouldn't be more helpful to have the discussion about the attributes of that project criterion and have people had already ranked it ahead of time, but now they're hearing these comments and saying, oh, I missed that. I think I need to change my 3 to a 4 or my 5 to a 4 or whatever. Just a question. Do you think that would be this is for the people doing the ranking. Do you think that would be a more helpful way to do it than to just say your number first?
Actually, contrary to that, I think that people's initial observation is important. And then the discussion is important as well. And then the ability to say, I recognize that it's probably a better sign of growth to see someone score, have the group influence the overall score, because we were able to change our scores, right?
Right, I know.
So I think the discussion was just as important because after the score, because it gave the people who were wholehearted about something ability to give their point and why they wanted to make their point. I think that in and of itself is important, even into compromise or getting people to understand that different views. I mean, I really think that the initial score is important, but we all know that it doesn't hold any weight until we have our final score. So it's sort of it's a good point, not a moot point, but it's a good initial point.
Maybe a way to address that is go section by section rather than we went through, each one of us gave all our scores. If we did it by section, then that would allow us to make some adjustments to the score. So it would be captured as we went through the thing. Cause I changed a couple mine too, but only because I was later in the discussion. But if we did section by section, maybe that would.
I think if we weren't allowed to change your score, it would be an important point to not give your score at first, but since it's a work in progress, I think that I think that initial score is important and knowing that we have the ability to change it.
Do you think like kind of maybe a both version of that could be we're going through each section and you give your score and explain why, and then the next person does that, and then that leads into the discussion?
That's what I was referring to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I completely agree. I think it'd be better. I agree with Dave that go through like each individual one at a time rather than all of the primary and then all of the secondary. I think like everyone's thinking something different as we're going, and if we just focus on one at a time, I think it would be better.
That sounds good. Thank you, guys.
That being said, Dan, do you think that giving the score right away messed up the scoring or?
No, I don't think so. I just thought that what Dave is saying, I think will fix what I think was a slight problem. And that is, when we just gave a score for a whole section instead of the individual criteria, I think it threw things off a little bit. I think if we do what Dave suggested, I don't think it'll matter if you give the score first or last. But I do think people ought to be coming to the table with a score in mind, but be listening and be ready to change it if, oh, I didn't understand that, or or the applicant is explaining their project before you do the ranking. Well, oh yeah, okay. I don't think I gave that the right number, So I think people shouldn't be just coming with their total score and thinking that they're probably not going to be too flexible with it. I like the idea of talking about each criteria point one at a time, and I think then it won't matter which way we do it.
Dennis, did you want to add anything to the?
No, I think the dialogue and the questions were good, and it is a work in progress. And I think folks will get more comfortable as you continue to review applications.
And I want to commend everybody for the thoughtfulness of the process. It was really impressive. You folks did a really good job of thinking about this, and I think we're on the right track.
Is there anything else we want to add to number 6? All right, so we'll move on to the next steps.
Okay, sounds good. So like I kind of talked about before, we're planning to open another grant round from like mid to the end of February after the webinar to the end of March, because that's kind of the spring deadline we put in the guidelines. And so if no applications happen to come in, that's okay, we'll just go from there, but because it's in the guidelines and that's just what we have out there, we want to just have it open in case. So we want to do this webinar, that's what we'll talk about, number 8. But before we get there, like before the webinar, we want to send out this fact sheet. Yeah, I see someone who have it out. This is the color version. If you want to just pass it around, I just don't want to print a bunch of them. So that's something that we want to mail out to the municipalities, just as something that they have kind of in all of their offices, in case anything were to fall in their laps and they have no idea what to do with it. They don't remember what they heard at the workshops, kind of thing. So this is just something that I've
You
been
have a
coming up
cover
with.
letter with that, just talking a little bit about, the date the referendum was passed and
Mhm.
how the process is. That would be helpful. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds like a good idea too. So yeah, you guys can mark this up if you want. You can give it back to me in the next few weeks. But any feedback you have on it, I know Dan and Dawn and Dennis and Ann and Dave and I have all been looking over it the past couple days. So I just wanted to get any feedback from you guys and see what you think. It just wasn't something I was able to email out ahead of time, so I apologize that it's kind of on the spot. But feel free to get it back to me within the next 2 weeks. I don't think we were looking to send it out before then.
You want comments by the end of January or before then, or?
Yeah, the end of January is good. That sounds good. But yeah, if there's anything like visual you see right now that you like think would even be hard to explain over email or over the phone, feel free to point them out. But if not, we can keep moving. But we can take a few minutes too.
Now, the last meeting, did we still have discussion about the logo? Or is that ironed out?
I don't think so. I don't think there was any discussion, so. I think this logo is done, right?
Done.
That's what I was told when I got here. I think it was a thing.
We had some discussion on signage, but
It's signage, that's it.
not the logo
That'll
itself.
be something coming up in the next few meetings.
Yeah, that's.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just, it's smushed. Okay.
You already went over the spring deadlines, maybe number 8 already. Correct.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Number 8 you've already gone over, right?
No, not exactly.
Oh.
So we haven't picked a time or date for this webinar. I guess I was kind of hoping to look for you guys for that. It doesn't matter to me. I don't, Dave, does the webinar for the grant workshop, the webinar, does that have to be during working hours for me?
No,
No,
could do the webinar whenever.
okay,
Most likely, we'll probably will do it in the evening, considering the fact that it's gonna be angled toward municipal officials, and most of them work during the day, so
yeah,
it'd probably be best if we do that in the evening.
okay. So similar to like this meeting is fine.
Would the next meeting, the 20th of February, be a good date?
I think we might want to try and do it a week earlier than that, just because if there is anybody that wants to apply, I think we want to try and have the grant round open as close to 6 weeks as possible, right? Because if it's that late, then it's only going to be open for like 5 weeks. I don't know. I'd have to look at a calendar, which I can do.
Does the fact that the 2 that were approved, they haven't been processed, play into this discussion at all as far as the timing?
The webinar?
Well, opening the grant set back up to get more, we're gonna get, let's say we got another application, real quick. They'll just keep piling up for the commissioners to approve the funds.
No, I don't think that matters.
Okay, I don't know, I'm just, we're moving ahead, but yet the ones that we already
I mean,
processed.
hopefully the commissioners are going to decide on that next week, right, Anna?
So I did talk to them earlier this week, and it does look like it's gonna be moved to their first February meeting. So even then, the end of March and opening it mid-March, it'll be okay.
I just wanted to bring that, put
Mhm.
that on the table, because that's,
Yeah, and it'll still just be with me, kind of, and then I'll
Right.
bring it to you.
yeah,
guys.
obviously, we still have a ways to go, and takes us more time than them, so to speak, so. Or the applicant more time.
Mhm.
So
So
Dawn,
that-
were you thinking the first or second week of February?
I was thinking like the week of the 17th. I mean, and I guess in theory that depending on if there's a lot to talk about for the Open Space Advisory Board on the 20th. Oh, that is the 20th.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 weeks. You would have 6 weeks the week of the 17th. So then, yeah, maybe the week before. So maybe like the 12th or 13th.
I think that sounds good.
And then if a municipality wants to come to our meeting the very next week, it'll be here and now, you know, if it be timely.
So,
Only about the 14th, right?
Yep. That's a Friday. Not the Friday.
I do want to, so one of the frequently asked questions that I have heard, and we have yet to have any kind of a resolution, is how much money in this program is being split between open space and farmland preservation. And I know nobody's wanted to answer that question, but I think that's something that we should get a resolution on, or even if it's just an estimate. Because if we're opening 2 rounds of this per year for open space, but it's taking 2 years or longer to get farmland preservation applications out, we're going to start seeing some concern from the communities that supported this program. So there needs to be some resolution on how this is being spent, how it's being split up, and some of the expectations, so that both sides that we're going to benefit, both groups that we're going to benefit from this program, have a little bit more clarity.
Hey, Katie, this has come up before, and I truly, to be very honest and straightforward, I'm at a loss as to, first of all, there's no way of knowing the demand, and to artificially create 2 buckets when we may lose a farm or an open space project because we've created 2 separate buckets doesn't pass the common sense test to me. I don't think either, if there are sides, and there shouldn't be sides, if there's the side on the ag that's worried about the open space spending the money, or the open space side worrying about the ag spending the money, I think none of us knows what the demand is. And I think Dave or Anna could talk to the ag meeting that just occurred. And it's just, to me, it's amazing how they're moving along with so many applications for preserving farmland. And to me, that's exciting. So it's almost like creating a battle line that should not exist. This is
Oh, no, I don't want to create a battle line, and I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting there's always been a question as to making sure that, as best as possible, this is a fully access to everyone. And there's already a long line of farms that were on the list for farmland preservation. So I'm just we've always kind of asked the question on what should be the expectations for everybody on what's accessible. And it does take quite some time for farmland preservation to go through for paperwork. So that is a question that folks have been having on, how is this getting divvied out? Not that we're trying to pit sides against another, but this is the first time that Carbon has had money for these kind of programs. So that's why everybody's asking, how does the math work?
what is the purpose of divvying it out?
The purpose is that we had a long-standing list of farms that were in the queue.
Right.
And
every
we-
January, I think Dave can speak to this. Every January, the county has this is the 3rd year of the county dedicating this open space funding to farmland. So every January, they dedicate a chunk of it to farmland.
Are we holding up farms because of anything? I don't think we are. It's simply the process of doing the easements on the farms and getting the appraisals and doing all the paperwork.
But the money's already been designated, right? So it doesn't matter how long it takes. The money's been designated to farmland.
correct, for the handful of farms that were put forward for this program that have been in the process for the last year and a half. But what I'm saying is that we're trying to make whatever we can do to give folks surety that it will be an equitable share, because there have been folks on the farmland list for a long time, and this is the first time that Carbon has had a
Right.
sizable investment to be able to meet that farmland existing demand.
But money is not holding up any application. Money is not, it's to all those applicants, it's get your application in, get your project lined up, and the planning office staff is moving it forward. There's nothing.
Right, but it's only with a certain amount of money that is allocated per year, so it's only so this last time around, it was 5 farms. That's how much money was put forward to then also ask for the state match. So
Well,
if it's only a handful of the applicants that are in the current pool at a time, and on the open space side, we are appropriately collecting new applications, then it does become a scale balance question between the list of existing applications in the farmland pool.
I don't see any
Yes.
scale. I think Dave and Anna need to explain what happened the other day at the ag meeting. What's your process with your deadline, Dave, of the end of January to request the Pennsylvania Department of Ag to match county money?
Okay, so what happens is every year at the end of January, there's February 1st, we have to certify how much the county's putting in funding the farmland preservation. When we do that, we get a match from the state. And so that's why every year you want to put money into that so that you get state money. It's get free money. So we're matching it at a ratio of, if we put in, the 1 year we put in, when we put in $1 million, we ended up getting $1.2 million from the state with that. What I try to do is I try to take the state's very complicated formula and find out how we get the most bang for our bucks. What's the best way to do this so that we're not certifying so much money that, well, we're not getting as much back from the state as if we stretch it out 2-3 years and kind of put in the least amount of county funds as we can to get the most amount of state funds. That's what we are doing with the farmland program. That's what we're trying to do with the farmland program a little bit. That's what I try to figure out for them. But the farm board, they make their recommendation based off of, how many farms we have and what they want to do, and that's up to them.
And so Dave, in 2023, you certified $1 million, right?
Yeah, so in 2023, we certified $1 million. And last year in 2024, it was $250,000.
And what are you proposing for this year?
That has not been decided yet. They will decide that most likely at their meeting on Thursday.
So Katie, the point is, so far, 1.25 million of the open space funds have been certified towards farmland.
No, and that's those numbers I knew. It was making sure that we're doing it again this year so that we as a board can, we as the open space board can say they're both running on parallel but in concert tracks so that both groups are getting the opportunity at it, that we're not opening a new grant round and the Farmland Preservation Board and that program is still not opening a next round as well. So that was what I was hearing as a concern from folks, was that open space is loading up on applications, and is farmland going to keep the same pace? So that knowing that they're going to have their meeting on Thursday, that's the kind of thing that can give assurance to groups that that a new number is going to put forward. And those folks that I'm hearing from would be pleased to hear that. So that's what I was trying to check on, is to make sure we've got both of them going at the same time as appropriate and as we can, so that the folks that were already kind of teed up know that that's coming.
Yeah, I think that's happening. And I mean, like Anna said, we don't even know if we're going to get any applications for this grant round or the fall grant round, but we want to have them open in case any projects are going, because, similar to ag projects, land, open space projects can take 1, 2, 3 years to get from you're talking to somebody and they're interested to you know, you're closing on it.
So again, this is all about demand on the open space side. Like Dawn said, we had 2 the first round. We don't even know if there's going to be any this round. But because the folks, the residents voted for this, there's an expectation that we continue to have open rounds. The farmland, I mean, this is exciting. The first time in the history of the county, 2 years ago, with that $1 million and the 1.4 from the state, there's 5 farms plus I believe another 2 are being worked that Anna is working. So that's 7. And there's maybe more in the queue. It's like, God bless them. Let's
Oh, no.
get it.
1000% agree.
Kind of say to set an artificial number to me is creating a battle line that doesn't exist. Nobody should think they're being shortchanged. I'm kind of tired of hearing it. Nobody thinks they should be shortchanged. There's a capacity issue in the planning office of how many applications they can process. Everything that's coming in the door is being processed. There is no, I think the last thing we need in this county, and Katie, I hope you could squash this to the people who might be complaining to you, is nobody's being shortchanged. Nobody is being held back.
And that's why in bringing it up to this meeting was my goal, so that it was out there that we're not. Because I don't want other groups who, you know, aren't as clued in as all of us that are on this conversation, that aren't hearing it or don't know about it, to make sure it is getting out there, that we're also working in concert with that group to make sure that we're maximizing the opportunity. But wanted to, you know, make sure that for the upcoming farmland preservation meeting, it's also working, and it's going to put money out there, because that was a concern, that it was that we may, you know, stall out, or there may be problems. So, but that's what I was hearing from folks was, wow, you guys are picking up speed. Where's the farmland group, and are they going to keep pace? And that's just from the standpoint of those folks who've been waiting a long time. So it's not a negative. It's not a criticism. It's just, it's great that Carbon County is finally picking up steam to do it, and now everybody's jazzed. So they're waiting in line to see when their opportunity is next.
Anything else, under number, as far as the webinar is concerned?
So did we agree on a date then? Okay.
Yeah, we still need to agree on a date and time,
The 14th. Yeah.
preferably not Friday.
Anything that week, I would say anything that week would be good.
I would prefer a Tuesday or Thursday.
13th.
I think the last one was on the 13th.
Could we do it the 13th?
The time, is 6:30 good? Like the time of this, or should we do 5:30, 6 o'clock? Push it later?
Everything's headed down to me for day of the week, usually
Tuesday.
Tuesdays, okay.
Monday.
Everyone's different.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sure
they're all
some
different, but-
municipality in the county will probably have a meeting that day, but
Yeah.
someone draws the short straw.
I think the 6:30 time is fine.
Okay. That works.
And the flyer won't be out to them by then yet, correct? Or is there a effort to try to get it to them before the webinar?
That was the point of it.
Yeah, I think I'll get it.
Well, you said you wanted us to
Yeah.
critique it until the end of the,
Until the end of January.
are you gonna have enough time to?
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
have enough time. My plan is kind of to, like, give them a call and see if they have anything they're working on to apply for the upcoming grant round. And then I'll also tell them about the webinar during that call, and I'll also let them know that I'll be mailing them to their office. So I'm planning to call all of the municipalities kind of within that time frame. And I think I'll be able to manage that. So that's good for number 8, I think.
Yeah.
That's good with everybody.
All right. Any further business?
So the only further business I have for you guys is Katie emailed me and Fred a survey. So I'm just kind of gonna read the description I have from their website. So it's led by the Southern Alleghenies Planning and Development Commission and the Pennsylvania Pennsylvania Office of Outdoor Recreation. It's called Elevate. It's an effort to move forward the creation of a statewide capacity building organization to present the needs of the growing outdoor recreation industry in Pennsylvania. The project will benefit the industry by building the capacity of the sector to be an effective advocate and state government partner for outdoor recreation development. They're looking for anyone to take their survey. So if you guys just want to fill that out, if you're interested, I have a QR code for it up there, but since we have a lot of people on Zoom, I can also send it in an email tomorrow. If anyone is just interested in that, Katie, and if you want to talk any more about that too, I'm just kind of sharing. that
I would
for her.
prefer an email link, so it's easy for me.
Yeah, much appreciated, dear. I just wanted to, I saw it, wanted to highlight it, you know, the fact that the work of this board is directly corollary to having more opportunities for outdoor recreation. You know, I thought it's part and parcel to what we're doing and keeping these spaces available. So sharing it with the board, sharing it with the community, and how important it is to Carbon County, you know, get our voice heard on it, and hopefully there's additional opportunities with the Office of Outdoor Recreation and some more focus on this. So it was just a highlight to say it's a good thing, and you know, make sure that we're a part of the conversation.
That's all I had as further business.
Anybody else have anything to add? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Seconded. All in favor?
All right.
Meeting adjourned.